One of the things that I have most learnt in the last 20 years of my life, and Ben will learn it when it happens to him, is that you drop everything if you're a normal person when you have children. And children totally change your perspective of life. And if you are involved in the care of your children and you're living in a normal New Zealand family and you're a father of a mother of a child, generally if something goes wrong with your child, a good example is the Prime Minister, Chris Hipkins, has dropped everything for a couple of days because his kitty is sick. And I think she is in hospital. It seems like, Ben, have you been following that story, by the way? The story of the Prime Minister's child?
No, I saw it briefly, saw it reported.
I looked up the condition that she's got, and I think she is what we would have described as an old-fashioned haemophiliac. So I think she's got a blood clotting or a blood disorder, which is why the Prime Minister in the last 24 hours has extolled, and rightly so, just quietly, the number of people who donate blood in this country. Believe me, if you are one of those, you are a hero, and we don't reward you enough, to be perfectly honest with you. But anyhow, so your children become, if they get ill, if something happens to your children, if they get really, really sick, your life just stops. It's really interesting, and nothing else matters. And every parent, every father, every mother will know exactly what I'm talking about as I talk to this. Well, just imagine if your 3-year-old boy disappears. And 3's a lovely age. I think back to all of my children, and 3 is a beautiful age for a child to be. They're just starting to talk. They've acquired their own personality. They're independent to a degree and just a little bit mischievous as well. And you're starting to discover this little alien living with you. And I have to say, it is a beautiful age, and it is an age at which I think, particularly with males, but also with women obviously as well, but for males, you start to acquire real love. It's not that you don't love your children prior to them turning 3, but it just ratchets it up a little bit more. Our next guest is Paul Jones, who is the father of a little 3-year-old boy called Lachie. And one evening in January of 2019, little Lachie disappeared. And I can't imagine how bad that would have been for his dad, Paul. And he was then found a little bit later on, and he was not alive. He had drowned, according to investigation subsequent, in Gore's only oxidation pond 1.2 kilometres away. But the manner of little Lachie's death has been something that will not go away. And the investigations surrounding such ditto. And yesterday, the police announced that they were going to review their investigations, there have been 2, into Lachie's disappearance and death, in case, presumably, they'd missed something. Joining us to talk about this, and to be honest with you, I can't imagine what it must be like to talk about this, is Lachie's dad, Paul Jones, and he joins us now. Paul, welcome to the show. I still, this tragedy must be as ever present to you as it was at the time, yeah?
Oh, it just seems like yesterday, mate. Yep. It seems like it happened yesterday.
Tell us about Lachie, first of all, before we talk about anything else. What was he like?
Oh, he's a very intelligent, normal 3-year-old who, is full of life and, love living, and, he's very clingy, right and wrong, and, he was a well-behaved little boy, and, very intelligent for his age, well beyond his years. His kindy teachers and that said he was very bright for his age.
Paul, was he your oldest?
he's my only son. He's my only child. Yeah.
Okay. Now, before we get into his disappearance and the police investigation, can I just ask, you had separated from his mother prior to this particular evening, yes?
Yeah, about 6 months before we had separated. Yep. Yep. So it had been about 6 months. It was in August and Lachie died in January.
Right.
End of January.
Okay. And his mum and you, did you have 50-50 care and custody, or what was the nature of the custody arrangements between you?
We were still working through that. I had some visitation rights, but for about April, I just started seeing Lachie again. For about 8 weeks before that, I had actually been head up on to be honest with you, charged through the courts for pushing her, which was downgraded to a common assault. And so I didn't see my son for about 8 weeks, and then I was going through the process of getting some tests to him. So the courts temporarily gave her custody of him, so she had the day-to-day care of my son, and I had visiting rights.
Okay. So there was a marriage breakdown, it turned toxic. Listen, there's a lot of us who have been personally through that. It turned physical, ditto. And so the family court always tend to punish you in that situation. You had the visitation rights usually come through the family court, but you were starting now to get back together, and I guess things were starting to mellow, or not, in terms of your relationship with your ex?
Oh, definitely. Yep. We're on speaking terms, and things are heading sort of in the right direction. And the night before Lachie, I stayed there, and that. So it was turning around in the right direction, especially for Lachlan's sake. So I could see him in that, definitely. Yep.
Now, like me, you were an older dad. You must have been, what, about 48 when Lachie was born?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. He was just one off. I actually got told I wasn't being able to have children when I was a bit younger, and by some sort of surprise, Lachie come along.
Now, was his mum, Michelle, was she much younger than you, or roughly the same age?
Same age, yep.
Oh, wow. So for both of you, the birth of Lachie would have been, well, I won't say a minor miracle, but, well, it would have been a minor miracle, wouldn't it?
Yep, definitely. It was a big surprise to me, and something I'd waited for all my life, and then it finally come. Yep, definitely.
Okay. All right. So he's a nice little boy. He's 3-year-old. All 3-year-olds are a bit of a handful at that time. And then he is with his mum, Michelle, in January. And then he wanders off. How were you first informed that your son was missing? By
the mum. I was actually done with the paddle. I got a haircut, and I was temporarily staying with my dad out at Finlay Road. And the mum rang Michelle, or the mum rang me and said that she thought Lachie wasn't missing. And I said, "Oh, what do you mean? You think she's missing?" She said, "Oh, I think he's missing at the moment." And then, I said, "Oh, nothing better have happened to him." And she hung up the phone, and then she said, "You're welcome to come and look for him." So she then hung up the phone, and I got out of bed and took off towards Invercargill. How it all started.
Right. And so Lachie, sorry to ask this question, but Lachie is found dead, floating in the oxidation pond. When did you see your son next?
I seen him. They told me he was deceased, and they take him down to the St. John's. So I went down to the St. John's with a friend and my dad, and they had him lying in the back of a police car there. So that's when we got to see him. And
what time was that? Was that later on that night, or was that the next day?
Yeah. No, it was that night. We were then waiting for the undertaker to come and pick him up. It was about 11, just before 11. So, yeah.
All right. Listen, I can't imagine anything worse. So. There wouldn't be a person listening to this who does not feel sympathy for you, but that's not what you're after. What you're after is what actually happened. Why do you think that Lachie didn't walk from the house, stray 1.2 kilometres and get into the oxidation pond and there drown? What are the things that don't work for you in that scenario?
The whole lot. The whole lot doesn't work. He was in bare feet. He walked 1.2 kilometres through gorse and stones. He was found floating on his back, and subsequently to that, we found that he had no water in his lungs, and the police should have never come to the conclusion he drowned. And that was not a safe prognosis by them to ever say that he had drowned. So, no, none of it added up. The time of night, and it wasn't in his nature to wander off, and he was such a clingy boy. I used to take him on the courier run. He would walk about 20 metres and want to picked up, so it never added up to me straight away. And the next day we went out there and shorts and all that, and we had all these marks on us and that, and so I went to the undertaker, and he said he arrived in perfect condition, and they were gobsmacked to how, he's such a beautiful little boy, they said, and so it was a hell of a shock. Are you there?
I'm assuming that there was a pathology report or something similar done for Lachie. Is that correct or not?
Yep. The police, original pathologist down in Invercargill, he didn't want to do 3-year-old boys for some reason. He was demanded or pushed into doing it. Well, I don't know the reason why, but he was very distraught about doing it. So, and the police have confirmed that he didn't want to do it. They should have gone to a proper pathologist in Christchurch when there's suspicious circumstances, but they only emailed him when there was a number for the police to ring him. So for some reason or not, they decided not to use that number and email him, and he got the email when the pathologist was already underway with with his post-mortem. So,
all right, and so in this particular case, the pathologist report, did it back up your view that he had not drowned, or did the pathologist say he had drowned?
He said that the cause of death he thought was by drowning, but since we found out that that's because that's obviously what the police told him, and he looked at nothing else. So the police got their own pathologist who's well known in New Zealand, Martin Sage, to review the original pathology report, and he had told the police before the work health and safety, and they put it in the second file, that there was not of they should have never come to the conclusion that Lachlan drowned. And then we sent some tissue samples and slides through the newsroom, Melanie Reid through the newsroom, over to a renowned world pathologist who has since come back and gave the same conclusion, that they should have never come to the scenario that my son drowned, and that they should have never ruled out a third party being involved.
Right. When you said to me at the start of this conversation that your son didn't have any water in his lungs, how did you discover that, Paul?
Through the pathologist that done the red testing over in England.
Right. So you're in
Dr. Kohler.
Right. So
Dr. Kohler and yep.
So I'm assuming that he's got a different view than the pathologist from Invercargill who said that he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. He said he should have never come to that conclusion right from the beginning. So for some reason, he's never explained to us why he did. He should have never come to that conclusion.
Right. So you believe, all right, so there's a variance of what you'd say pathological or scientific evidence at that point. Has there been anybody apart from the police for example, a coronial inquiry or something like that, that have tested the conflicting evidence in this matter?
No, not at this stage.
So there's been no coronial inquiry at the moment?
No, it is before the coroner, Dr. Coroner Ho in Auckland. He's doing it, and he does correspond with the lady I've got now looking at my son's case, who was a ex-CSI agent from America, and he corresponds with her, but he has employed King's Counsel to help him through the files. So, yep, which is Simon Mount. So he's helping him look at the 2 files.
All right. Now, yesterday the police announced that they believed that, they didn't. They've admitted they missed some steps in investigating the death of your son. Mm-hmm. What steps were they? Because I haven't seen anything in the media reports that itemises what those steps might be. Do you know what they were?
They haven't told me at this stage, but I presume that they've missed a whole lot, to be honest with you. I don't want to say it. I'm saying that, the first investigation wasn't an investigation, so as far as my lady can see, that, it was never investigated properly. They come to a quick conclusion and never done what they should have done.
And the other thing that they did yesterday, the police, is they've referred the matter to the Independent Police Complaints Authority as well. In your view, I've seen subsequent media reports by yourself, Paul, to suggest that you don't have much confidence in what that review, or the third police review, or the police review, is going to do. Why don't you have any confidence in that?
Oh, it's just all remained in-house amongst themselves. Like, I told the first investigation wasn't right, so they got someone to do the second investigation that come and tried to dot all the I's and T's for the police. He was never in it to find out what happened to my son. So the second investigation was just as bad as the first, and now they've gone to a higher level in Auckland, and to my understanding, they're only investigating themselves, what they should have done and what they shouldn't have done. But the whole thing wasn't done right. So, if the whole thing wasn't done right, why don't they open it up and get someone that can do the job properly?
So your argument is, Paul, you want an independent overview of the investigation, but also obviously opening up the entire files back to day one, yeah?
Yeah, I have.
And you don't trust the New Zealand Police to do that, because you think that they'll cover up and duck shove to save themselves from the embarrassment of not having done the job properly in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a lady, as I said, in America that's got all the evidence of the first and second file, that sent numerous pages to the coroner with forensic evidence, and she said that it should have been a homicide, not a drowning case that was wiped under the carpet.
Right. Now, you're adamant that Lachie was murdered,
Yep, definitely.
and that there is a killer or killers, plural, currently still living in Gore. You think that the people who murdered him, and I know that you'll observe the propriety, but you think the people who murdered, or person who murdered Lachie, is still living in Gore, yeah?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, definitely. Yep.
What do you think the motive was?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not, I just don't know. I can't,
No, so if you have a clear view as to who you think the killer was, or killers, that presumably there would have been something that motivated them to kill your son and then dispose of his body, which is where you're going on this one. So I'm just interested in what you think might have been the motivation that would have led to the death of your child.
Oh, I don't know whether it was greed or I'm not too sure, mate. To be honest with you, I just know he was murdered, and there could have been a whole lot of reasons for it. But I don't want him to attack anyone, or I want it reinvestigated. I don't,
Okay. WorkSafe brought a charge under the Health and Safety Act at the council, the Gore Council. They pleaded guilty to a charge relating to the drowning of your, and that's in the oxidation ponds. And as I understand, I don't know what the sentencing was or anything. I think they had to pay a sum of money. Is that right? Were they fined?
Yeah, 110,000 to be divided between me and the mother. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that was that.
Has that subsequently been paid by the Gore District Council to you and Michelle?
As far as I know. Yep.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Which I guess is no compensation for you. But where to from here, can I ask? If you think the police are going to come up with a predetermined point of view, is your next best bet the coronial inquiry, which is at least an independent overview?
Yeah, or an inquest, yes, definitely. Yep. That's what I'm trying to push through, and I don't know what's taken 4.5 years, but and a lot of other ones before my son's one, so hopefully I can get back to the courts ASAP now, hopefully.
Right. And listen, if you believe what you believe, and I can't imagine the pain just from losing little Lachie, then I guess you're in this for the long haul, aren't you? You won't be giving up anytime soon.
I'm not going anywhere. It's the only thing that keeps me in my job and keeps me in Gore. I'm not leaving until I get it done, right? So I don't know how long that is.
Can I thank you for joining us, Paul? We'll follow the case, obviously. All sympathy with you. And, yeah, best of luck.
Yep. Thank you, mate.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Ta. You've heard that particular issue. It's an issue that won't go away. The police yesterday tried to also suggest, well, no, they did suggest, they didn't try to suggest, they did suggest that obviously it's deeply distressing, the allegations that have been made by Paul Jones for Michelle Officer and those who are connected with her. But the answers, and this is one of the reasons why the media have taken an interest in this case, the little boy got out of bed, walked barefooted, drowned in an oxidation pond 1.2 kilometres away, was found floating on his back. That is correct. That is the fact. It's disputed whether or not there was water in the lungs, just quietly. Obviously, there is disputed scientific and pathological evidence here. But also the little boy didn't have marks on his feet or on his legs, as one might have expected through walking through particular areas. There's a part of me, listen, everybody who's got a 3-year-old or had a 3-year-old child will know, Ben, that 3-year-olds scamper. I well remember somebody bringing back, whilst I was distracted with the other 2 girls, my 3-year-old son Theo, who'd managed to escape literally my property, which was in actual fact had a security fence, and he'd managed to get through it regardless, and fortunately was discovered by a kind elderly man as he was just about to run across a road. I know. So I remind Theo of that all the time, I have to say. But so kids do scamper, and they do scamper at 3. How far would Theo been from the house when he was finally found? 200 metres? Not 1.2 kilometres though. But I just thought I'd bring you up to date with that, because that's got a long, long way to go, that particular case. And yeah, the police yesterday announced a re-investigation of their investigation. But to be honest with you, yeah, how much confidence would you have in that?